I just will introduce Glafira. Glafira is my actually very good friend for several years. Originally, she is from Belarus. Now she lives in Lithuania, and she's moving soon to Barcelona to new job. Uh, I'm very happy for her. And accessibility. Glafira is a queen of accessibility. So she's working manager of accessibility in the company. So she will tell you about this industry. Okay, I'm switch off.
Cool. So I won't hear you all, but if you want to say something, just ping me. Yeah, let me just check everything. Oh my god. Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Glafira. I prefer actually Glasha, but sometimes it's difficult to pronounce. But anyway, today I will tell you about the tools in Chrome browser which you can use to test your accessibility. Of course, I'll tell you about accessibility more a little bit because I don't know if you know about it or not, but I guess somebody knows. But anyway, so yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Glasha. As I told you, I work as a project accessibility project manager at a big company called SEMrush. This company does products which helps you with search engine optimization of your website, so anything in web. So they do a lot of like as they us. I work only for 2 months, so I still say something like they. We do good stuff in terms of SEO optimization, and also the company hired me to create accessibility processes inside this company, so they are really about their users to make them comfortable, to make the product accessible to everyone. Also, I am a GDE for web technologies, Google Developer Expert, and I am a VTM, Women Tech Makers Ambassador. So we do some meetups also, like we do Accessibility Club Minsk. It's a famous branch of branch is not that famous, but the club is famous, Accessibility Club. The main one is in Amsterdam, as far as I remember. Yeah, so I also teach accessibility on some courses. These ones called Accessibility Unity. Yeah, I teach web accessibility. And also, I am a program committee member for some conferences and meetups, like the same as yours, Luxembourg JS. We have in Belarus, we have our own Minsk CSS, Minsk JS meetups. So, in case you want to present your talks, for example, somewhere else, like online, of course, you can definitely come to me. I'll help you to start if you're new to speaking publicly. So yeah, just come to me. I'll help you with everything, especially with accessibility. So today we're going to talk about accessibility, and first I show you a small and simple example of one of the most inaccessible components which always cause some problems to all the users, not all the users, but to users with some special needs. I'll tell you about the model window. This is actually on the screen. You can see the button which launches this model. So we just press this button and the model appears. So as a person who can see the screen, a usual user, important to all the companies because you give them your money and so on. So for the user, this model windows looks like model. You can recognize it because it has kind of backdrop, so everything is blocked above the model windows. Also, it's in the shape of a model window, so you have this cross button to close the model. Also, some action buttons, the structure of it, like title, the middle part with the content, and also the area with action buttons. Everything tells you it's a model window. But there are people who can't see like at all. So they see your. I will use the word see because they actually also use it a lot. Like I don't see any points here and so on. So it's pretty funny, in a good way. Yeah. So in not good, non offensive way. So yeah, they use this word. So blind people will get this interface something like this, like a black screen with no information. Of course there will be some information, but like the generic idea is that if you don't code your elements properly, they won't appear for the blind person. And we're going to talk about blind person only during this talk because it's kind of the most frequent and in many ways the best example of users with special needs. Yeah, so nothing on the screen. Let's let me tell you why and why it should be important to you. So we do a lot of web content. I'm not sure about the audience, and I actually can't ask you. But anyways, I assume the Luxembourg JS called JS, so there are web developers or somebody who related to web technologies. So we have this word accessibility. In short, it's A11Y, 11 letters between an A and Y, the same as for internationalization, something like this, like I18N. So the idea is the same. Yeah, and you can meet this word everywhere when you look for some accessibility solutions. So A11Y, look for it in Twitter, everywhere, so you'll find some good content. Not always good, but it's a topic of a different talk. Yeah, so what about it? So accessibility is about the idea that your interfaces, no matter what, like is it web or mobile or desktop, or it's about emails you send to your users, or it's about something printed like physical stuff. So accessibility is about making this world accessible to everyone, not only to some normal people with no issues like health issues, but also with all the people who has some health issues or some conditions or something like this. Like blind person is the most frequent example. Also some other problems with user's sight, or some issues with motorics, like hands are shaking or something like this. So yeah, in this world there are 15% of people with kind of medical disabilities. So they have this medical condition. And in terms of numbers, the Earth's population now is about 8 billion people, maybe more, because every time I update this talk, it's more and more people. Which I don't know. I don't know. No, I won't continue with this idea. Yeah, so 15% of population is about 1,200,000,000 people, and it's a lot. So, and we exclude these people from our interfaces by writing bad code. So let's don't do it. I give you all the links. They all are like really interesting. I'll ask organizers to share these slides with you. You should check the statistics and also this Web Accessibility in Mind Million report. We have now a new version, 2024. It says how many, what's going with the web interfaces during the year. They check 1 million of the websites automatically check for accessibility, and they say how the statistic changes from year to year. Like for this year, the most interesting result is that there are 15% we use code for creating navigation for the website, and we use like a special accessibility role called menu, 50% more than we did it before. So developers discovered during this year the role menu, and they use it everywhere. and they use it really like wrong. So yeah, that's an interesting report. You should check it. uh, yeah, but 15% it's kind of medical disabilities, but we still have a lot of people who are not included in this group. We are all getting older, definitely. I'm not that old, but still I have really bad sight, like for one eye at least. Also, we have some conditions like really noisy surrounding, really light, like strong light when we don't see any of interfaces with bad contrasts. Some conditions like we're driving and we still need special application appearance for driving. Broken hands and some batteries, like in my Windows for some reason I sometimes don't see the pointer of my mouse. So before I reboot the computer, I need to navigate somehow. So I am obliged to use keyboard. But I would say the keyboard navigation won't work everywhere in a good way, especially for websites. Yeah, so we should consider people who have no like real medical state, but they have temporary issues with using our interfaces, and we should include these people. We're not only inspired by people's needs, of course, because it doesn't influence the business at all. So the business will listen to some legislation, and in many countries in this world, there are accessibility laws like existing, working. For example, the biggest one is the USA. They like check almost everyone for accessibility, and they like apply some restrictions to these websites. Also in United States, in European Union from 2025 there will be a working European Accessibility Act, so we need to prepare our interfaces till 2025. And in Canada it's already working. So that just a few examples, but there are many other countries who have these accessibility laws. So for example, in United States for March, there were raised about 430 lawsuits against websites who are blocking the user from using these websites. Like there are mostly blind users, so yeah, it's sometimes impossible to buy something. Especially during this COVID time, when you won't go out offline and you want to do everything online, and the blind person want to do the same things as a sighted user. So yeah, the statistics is pretty awful, but still working. And I really like how the number of lawsuits increases each month. It's impressive. So let's get back to the model. How to make it accessible for all the users, especially for a blind person. Let me introduce you to the screen reader. It's a tool which helps blind people to obviously read everything from your screen. So now it doesn't matter how and what, but you just need to understand that the blind person can read all the text, all the elements on your website if they are not hidden somehow. Everything. They can recognize the type of the elements. Like if you use HTML semantics, the screen reader will recognize these semantics, and it will say, like you can see that on the screen, close, it's a name of the element, and then button. So button, it's the type, it's tag button. The same, save changes button, like we see this cross button, which is close button. Also the real close one, the save changes button, yeah, oh, so it's future slide. Yeah, so, and also here you can see the heading. So on the model window we also have this heading, which is level 1 heading, and we see this information. Screen reader reads everything, so even the level of the heading, so h1 tag is heading level 1. So yeah, for all the operational systems, there are pre-built screen readers for each operational system. Like in Windows, it's called Narrator. In Mac, it's VoiceOver. Android, iOS, they also have their screen readers, but you can also install for some systems, operational systems, you can install the screen reader. Like for example, for Windows, you can install NVDA, which is on this slide, and it's free. But if you are not going to install anything, you just use the pre-built one, the Narrator. It's pretty okay to start with testing. But first, before you start testing with the screen reader, if you're interested, please read how to switch it off, because it's the biggest problem for, especially on mobile devices. Like you switch it on and then it starts read everything. The navigation is broken for you because screen reader has its own navigation, and it's reapply all the gestures and so on, takes it for itself, and yeah, does its magic, so they won't work as usually. Please look for the information how to switch it off. Yeah, so the screen reader will read everything in order you code it. So how is it in HTML, element by element, tag by tag? In your document object model tree, it will read it in this way. So for this model, first it will read the model wrapper in case it's properly coded, but we'll talk about it a bit later. Then it will read the button if it's in the top or on the top of the code, but sometimes we'll code this button somewhere like at the bottom. But let's pretend it's on the top. Then the heading. Then, in case we code separator, not with div and some styles, but with tag HR, the screen reader will read this semantics. It will say it's a separator. Then the text, then the separator again, the close button, the save changes button. And in a good case, if we are good coders and we think about our users, it will come back to the cross button because it's a model window, so we should keep the user inside it no matter what. Yeah, so to do this, we should understand that all the assistive technologies, not only screen readers, there is also, for example, a voice control technology which allows you to talk to your machine and ask, like, click this button, click that thing, and so on. So for these technologies, all the soft, not only browsers, but also some like desktop programs, they all build a thing called accessibility tree. So in case of web applications, accessibility tree will be built from the document object model with some special area attributes. We won't touch them, like we will touch them today, but not that deep. Yeah, so browser takes your document object model and creates an accessibility tree from this object model. Not every element get to the accessibility tree, only those which are important for the screen readers. And these are kind of text, all the semantics, some special stuff which is marked with ARIA attributes, but not everything. Like if it's display none element, it won't go to the accessibility tree because it's display none, it's not on the screen, so the screen reader should not get it. And the same for some like accessibility hidden elements, and also for some generic elements like divs, spans, in case they don't have text, in case they don't have some semantics additional, they won't go to the accessibility tree. So yeah, assistive technologies will get the accessibility tree, we'll ask it from the operational system through the API, and then we'll get it to the user. Yeah, so to check the accessibility tree, and this is the first tool from the Chrome browser. We can go to the settings of DevTools, find there the tab called Experiments, and there type accessibility word, and then check the Enable Full Accessibility Tree View in the Elements panel checkbox. After that, you'll be able to see the whole accessibility tree, which was built from the document object model. Yeah, so after you check this checkbox, on your Elements tab, you'll see the special button. It looks like a person, a squared person. Yeah, so you see the DOM, and then you push this button, and you see the accessibility tree, the full one, all the elements which are in there. It looks a bit different. You will see the roles of the elements, their labels, some of their states, like focusable for links, for example, or maybe for some other elements if they are focusable. So yeah, some important stuff for the assistive technologies. And in terms of our page, I'm using the Bootstrap model page of the page of the component. And here you can see that we have a banner from accessibility tree. Banner is a role of tag header. So we code in HTML, we code header, but for the screen reader, it will be a banner. That's legacy stuff. So banners existed before the tag header. The roles were in HTML4, but in HTML5 the semantics came for these roles, so they are not like, they don't match the name of the tag and the name of the role, but still. So tag header would be banner, tag aside would be complementary role, and the tag main would be main. Luckily. So yeah, you can see this the structure of the page through the accessibility tree. So the next thing, to get to the accessibility tree, you need to provide your elements with at least three things, like three really important things. First, its role of the element. For our model window, it would be div, role, dialog. Of course, we can use a native element called dialog HTML, but it's only now in a good state for accessibility. So sometimes you need to fix some legacy code, so you add roles like explicitly. So in case you need to improve your model window, you say like div, role, dialog, and that's how screen reader will get to the model window. The focus will be there, and it will read it's a dialog. Then for the elements, you should set a name, like accessibility name, accessible name. We also sometimes use the term label, because for inputs and buttons it's mostly a label, but in accessibility it's called accessibility name. Yeah, so first role, then name, and then value. Value, it's properties and states for this particular role. For example, for model window, role would be dialog, and values would be like label and also maybe some description. But in our case especially, we need this modality idea. So we'll add some property which will say to the screen reader it's a model window, and screen reader won't go to the page after it discovers all the model. So let's check the code first. First for the button, and this is the second Chrome tool for accessibility. It's called Chrome DevTools Accessibility tab. You choose the element, and then you choose the tab called accessibility for this element to check all these things: name, role, and values available for this element. I show you the button. So for the button, we have name, save changes, And this name comes from the content of the button, and you can see there are many other places from where the name can come. Then the role of this element. Role comes from the tag in our case, so role button, and also some properties. Like in this case, the button is valid and it's focusable. So, and screen reader will get some information from these properties. So for the model window, here we have a div tag, and when I check it, I see that this div has no accessible name at all. So screen reader won't say anything. And also this div doesn't have any role. So the role is generic. So we don't know. That's why the screen was like empty on the first slides. We don't know what is the element there. No name, no type, nothing. So let's improve it. Yeah, of course. As always, I forget about these things. So if you want to improve your element, of course you can change the tag, but in case you don't have possibility to change your tags, you can go to the specification called VARIA 1.2. It's a current one. This is an accessibility specification. It's about everything you can add to HTML to improve the accessibility of your elements for the assistive technologies. The whole spec doesn't relate to any other stuff. Like it won't change the behavior of the elements. It won't influence on JavaScript, on CSS, nothing. It will only give some information to the assistive technologies. So in our case, we check the dialog role because we want to get the dialog in the end. So yeah, let's add some area attributes. Area from this specification. Almost all the attributes called area, like area invalid, area labeled by, area model, blah blah blah. And the only one is which has no area before it, it's called role. So yeah, let's improve our model window. First, we add role dialog to our div. Then, now the screen reader will say it's a dialog. Then we connect the visible heading with this role dialog, and now that's how screen reader gets the name of the element. And now we have dialog called model title. Oh, not that good name, but anyway. Yeah, and then we add this idea of modality, because if we don't have area model attribute on our dialog, the screen reader will go through the dialog, and it will go after the last element, it will go back to the page right there where the dialog was called. And usually it's called from somewhere like at the bottom of the page, like where the very last element in HTML. So screen reader will find nothing after it. It will be a bit confusing for the user. So area model true will say the screen reader the dialog is finished, so go back up by the code and check the previous stuff. So yeah, after we did it, we have a lot of information for the blind person. Now they know that the dialog was opened. It has title, it has close button, some text, some other close and save changes buttons, and so on. So all the semantics is there. Yeah, exactly. So two tools like accessibility tree and accessibility tab for elements. What else can we test with the browser? First, there is a Google Lighthouse tool. You should know it like from other checks, like we always check performance or some best practices with Google Lighthouse, but you also can check the accessibility for your website, and it would be the good first step to check everything, to fix all the issues, and be happy at least for 30% of accessibility issues which can be on your website. So yeah, the accessibility check has two states. First, the navigation, like not states but modes. First, the navigation mode would run the check while reloading the screen, but it's not that useful. For me, the next one, the snapshot mode, which is pretty new, is more useful because you can open your model or open some pop-up and run the check. The page won't reload, so the state will be safe, and you'll check the state, a special state for this page. So I really love this new snapshot mode. Yeah, it will give you some points, like 22 of 27 checks were passed, and it will also show you all the issues it found. For example, on this screenshot, there are some elements which don't have accessible name or some label, something like this. So you should check it and fix it. You also can check the color contrast, and it's not always working that good, but still you can try to start with it. Like on this screenshot, there is a really light pink button and inside it a white text, so you see the red icons which show you that it doesn't pass the contrast ratio check, and you can fix it right away in case you don't have a designer, but also you can send this screenshot to the designer. They will be happy, I assure you. They will be happy to fix all the color contrast issues. Also, you can get the whole report on color contrast through the CSS overview instrument from the More Tools menu. Yeah, there you can gather all the information about the color contrasts. Also, if you are like an experienced accessibility expert, would say, or a designer who really cares about the color contrast, there is a new algorithm which counts color contrast called a APCA, I would say. Yeah, so it's a new one, and we should switch it on in the experiments tab, so go there, check it. It's shows contrast in a way the real person gets it, so it's kind of improved version. Yeah, so also there is a tab called rendering. There are many checks on this tab. Emulators, you can do a lot of things there, but one of the most important for accessibility called emulate vision deficiencies. There are many types of the checks, like not here I choose the reduced contrast version, so you can see nothing, almost nothing, I'm pretty sure, on this screenshot now. So the contrast is pretty poor for the website. Also, there are checks for color blindness and for some blurred vision. So go and check and try to improve your interfaces after these checks. Yeah, so if you are interested in the accessibility topic, please, of course, come to me with any questions. And also, we have this really cool document called Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. It's actually a checklist, kind of a really expensive to your cognitive abilities, but a huge one. But anyway, it's really interesting reading. So yeah, it's our checklist in accessibility. There is a new version of it, 2.2, like working version. And yeah, there are many things to check for accessibility. Even if it's called web content, it's not about web, it's also about desktop and mobile, any digital interfaces. So read it at least once, not the whole thing, but at least points, success criteria. Yeah, and there is a like nice version of it with filters, some interactivity called How to Meet WCAG. If you're a developer, just go there, because as far as I know, developers like to check some checkboxes and filter stuff. I also give you the link to the accessibility components, design systems, and guidelines I collected through these years. There are not all of them, maybe some of them are already updated, but you'll find it out when you go there. Yeah, it's for your inspiration, and if you need to create an accessible interface, you can go there and get some ideas from these interfaces or guidelines. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for your attention. And if we have time for questions, and if we have questions, so yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we have some time for questions. Any questions to Glafira regarding accessibility?
Is the Lighthouse tool also working for like internal application, or is it like only for
Published, you mean?
Sorry, yeah, published.
Published.
Lighthouse is working for anything which is in your browser, render it in your browser. Like it could be a local thing, it could be a public thing. And also, as far as I know, I'm not sure about the accessibility checks, but Google also have this. No, it's about page speed. Yeah, so nothing about accessibility. But still, if you don't want to use a Lighthouse, there are better tools. For example, one of them is called Axe DevTools. It's also an instrument to check your accessibility. It's really the best on the market for now. Has more checks for accessibility, and it will check also local and public URLs, no matter what.
It's like extension also.
Yeah,
working?
Axe DevTools is a Chrome extension. Not only Chrome, no, maybe only Chrome, not sure. Yeah.
So yeah, we can check it through browser any of our website. But I have actually a question to you. Do you ever worked with accessibility? Because for me, it's very interesting. Like, does your company think about accessibility at all or no?
You ask the audience, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Because I
asking
don't
what.
see you, so not sure.
I think like fully healthy customers or users sometimes feels like they disabled something. I mean, you're trying to provide a good UI and still they lost in it. So I mean, accessibility for disabled people is some next level, I guess.
Yeah. So people, yes.
At least provide some accessibility for a normal person, like not accessibility but usability, but still, yeah.
But I think it's more work for for designers who are doing UX part, right? Not graphic, but user
In my
designer.
experience, the most work goes to the web developers in terms of web accessible web interfaces, because the design for the design we can only fix the ways the user gets the interface, like make the UX better, and also color contrast and some structure of the page. But if it's not coded properly, everything is dead in this case. So it doesn't matter if your design is good. Then it must be coded, and that's a place to do really bad stuff. It always happens.
I have a question actually. If you use Bootstrap or Angular material, how far you are of reach a good level of cover your application?
Yeah, so with Bootstrap, you have more options to remove accidentally some accessibility from there. But in case you use Bootstrap as it is, and don't remove area attributes and use their accessibility guidelines, you are pretty good with accessibility because they really care about it, especially Bootstrap. They started like one of the first UI libraries who started accessibility, because I remember the days when I personally in 2019 or 18 I removed some attributes, like area attributes. What is it, like remove? Yeah, so with Angular material, it's a bit more difficult to break some accessibility, but they are really good accessibility too. And also there is a React library called Aria Kit. This one is like really cool in terms of accessibility too, so you can use it. And also some IBM libraries, they care a lot about accessibility. Adobe libraries.
React UI by default.
What?
React UI components.
Yeah. React default React components, they are pretty okay, but I prefer actual material in this case. As examples, as examples of accessibility, definitely. So yeah, like on my slides there was that link, which leads you to a lot of good accessible design systems.
Mhm.
So just get some inspiration from there. But Bootstrap is good, and Angular material is good. Like not Angular, but material. Angular especially. But yeah.
We have more questions.
Okay, hi. First of all, thank you for the presentation. And how would you approach into making like Canvas elements accessible? Because you like for our application is using a lot of canvases, and there are no elements that I can attach area labels to, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Um, so it's kind of an area where everyone just like they close their eyes and do nothing. For the canvases, the most popular approach is to how to say like create these elements, like invisible layer of these elements, duplicate the elements in HTML. But like it's almost the only thing you can do for your canvas interfaces. And as far as I know, you can look into Flutter how they do it, because they do accessibility for their interfaces, and as far as I remember, they exactly use these approaches. Yeah, but like happily, it's not the case for me. The only thing I do is about like charts, but still, yeah, it's only about duplicating the elements in real HTML, making them invisible and accessible at the same time. But yeah, Flutter would be a good example if they share their experience, how they approach accessibility.
Some example, maybe.
Oh,
Yes, or need to find maybe later some example of this, of how they do it on Flutter, because on they can build mobile apps and also websites.
yeah, we're
So
talking about their web part. Like you still like you have the same. You have the web and the mobile application. So their websites. Yeah, of course we need some cases. Real, I've never checked them, but they say they are pretty good in implementing accessibility.
any other questions?
I have a question more on the legislation side. Will this like have a sweeping effect like GDPR, like force sites to
Yeah, it
be more?
has the same. I guess it will be the same as with GDPR. At least we expect this. So, but in in United States, it's already a case. So you can now, if your company is presented in United States, you will get sued one day. Definitely, they can do it like now. But in Europe, I am pretty sure it will be delayed for a few years. So you can get these years to make something accessible, but you should start now. I'm sorry if I didn't get the right way of the question.
No, makes sense, yeah. Thank you.
But is it in US for all websites? Because I thought that it's only like for government, for some. Uh,
Yeah, it's usually for government. For all the legislations are usually for government, but this new Accessibility Act is about digital resources. All the digital resources. If your company has digital presence, you should be accessible by
in my case,
2020.
of blockchain company does it.
Oh,
In my case of blockchain company, should we also be?
yeah. Yeah, in case the user goes to your interfaces and use them somehow, you should be accessible.
Okay, should be accessible.
I love this word, should. Oh, but yeah.
Okay, I have also one question. How did you start? Because you started as just front-end developer, right? And you said that you also was one of us who deleted all this, some not necessary properties in HTML from Bootstrap. So So, how you started to love accessibility?
In our community, there are many people who do it for a long time, and I was inspired by some of them. Like in our community, we have Vadim Makeyev who works for Opera now and for MDN. For MDN and writes all the specifications for MDN now. So he started this topic in our community. Every his talk is supported with some accessibility ideas, so he always put it in his speeches. So that's how I found out about this topic. And then I went like directly after that, like 2 months or 3 months or something. I was really inspired. I really love to create the interfaces with HTML, CSS. I'm not that good at JS anyway, but yeah, so HTML, CSS. And then accessibility came to my life, and I started to work for a company who they had this project which they were obliged to do accessibility for their system. It was an American company who gave certificates for some professions like lawyers and so on. So they were like, it was a requirement to them to be accessible. And someone complained because like some blind person who was, I guess, a lawyer, so they complained they couldn't get this certificate, and it was like requirement for their jobs. And they sued this company, and the company found another one, like a small Belarusian company for some reason. Belarus is an outsourced country, you know, for America especially. So yeah, that's how I started, and it never ends because yeah, the topic is huge, and it becomes more and more popular. I really love that everyone starts thinking about it. So great.
Super. So, no more questions. Okay, thank you very much, Glafira, for your talk. So I hope that maybe some next time you will come. I actually invited Glafira a lot of times to Luxembourg. She never visited us.
Your country is too small. I can't find it on the map.
Yeah, so maybe you will find some time to visit us from
Thank you so
Barcelona.
much for having me.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
Yeah, bye.